They dragged Jimmy out of the courtroom in handcuffs, his head down, his mother wailing so loudly that even the officers paused for a moment. I stood there frozen, watching the boy we all believed in, the boy who was supposed to be our family's pride, being led away like a common criminal. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. Jimmy was the golden child. From the day he was born, Aunt Rose would tell anyone who cared to listen that her son would be a doctor. She said it with so much confidence that even people outside the family believed it. He was smart too, top of his class in school, always coming home with awards. Aunt Rose made sure everyone saw those awards. Dr. Jimmy, she'd call him, smiling so wide her dimples would show. That's my son. When he got accepted to a university in the UK to study medicine, it felt like a dream come true. Aunt Rose threw a party that the whole neighborhood talked about for weeks. There was jollof rice, fried chicken, puff-puff, and even a small band. This is just the beginning, Aunt Rose said, her eyes sparkling. Soon, I'll be a doctor's mother. When Jimmy left, everything seemed fine. At first, he called every week, telling us about his classes, how he was adjusting to life abroad. Aunt Rose would listen with her face glowing, interrupting him to say, "My son, the doctor." I knew it. But then, things started to change. The calls became less frequent. When he did call, he sounded distracted, like he wasn't paying attention. Aunt Rose brushed it off. Medical school is hard, she said. Jimmy is focused on his studies. But then, we got a call from one of his friends. Jimmy's been acting strange, the friend said. He's not going to class anymore. He's hanging out with bad people, gamblers, drug dealers. He doesn't even study. When the university sent a letter saying Jimmy had been expelled for drug-related activities, it was like a bomb went off in the family. Aunt Rose refused to believe it. It's a mistake, she kept saying. Not my Jimmy. My Jimmy is going to be a doctor. But it wasn't a mistake. The police got involved. He had been caught selling drugs, and because of his visa status, he was deported back to Nigeria to face trial. When Jimmy arrived at the airport, he looked nothing like the boy who had left. His clothes were wrinkled, his face was thin, and his eyes looked empty. Aunt Rose ran to him, tears streaming down her face, but he barely hugged her back. "What happened to you?" she asked over and over, but Jimmy didn't answer. The trial was worse than anything we could have imagined. Every day, newspapers wrote about the boy who threw away a bright future. The court was packed with people who wanted to see the failed doctor. When they sentenced him to 5 years in prison, Aunt Rose broke down. She screamed, begging the judge to show mercy. "He's my only son," she cried. "Please, give him another chance." Now, Jimmy is in prison. Aunt Rose doesn't leave the house much anymore. She doesn't go to church, doesn't talk to neighbors. She just sits in her room.